Welcome to the Shyam Sharma Show. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Congress's impressive performance in the civic body polls in Punjab. And is there a war going on Christmas in India? Well, I didn't know about it, so we're going to talk about that a little bit too. Happy Monday, everyone, and let's jump right into it. Hello, and welcome. Welcome to a brand spanking new episode of the Shyam Sharma Show. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking time out of your Monday to come and watch the show. I appreciate you. Now, in our first story of the day, the Congress party did exceedingly well in the recently held civic body elections in Amritsar, Jalandhar and Patiala in Punjab. In Patiala, the Congress won 58 wards while the opposition failed to open an account. In Jalandhar, 66 wards fell into the Congress's kitty, followed by 8 which went to BJP and 4 to their ally Shiromani Akali Dal. In Amritsar, Congress won 69 while 12 went to the Shiromani Akali Dal BJP alliance. So I think it's pretty fair to say in this situation that in the civic body elections here, Congress routed the opposition and they did exceedingly well. And I think a large chunk of the credit of this win should go to Captain Amarnath Singh. He was talking to the press. He said, election results have been very good. We are very pleased. You can't get a better result than this. Out of 3 corporations, we have swept polls and won all of them. Now, Congress leader Navjot Singh Sidhu, he also came out and he said, the third victory in our captain's turban. This is the first victory that Rahul Gandhi has tasted at Congress president. And here's the thing. Rahul Gandhi had nothing to do with this victory. This is Captain Amarnath Singh's victory. This is Punjab Congress's victory. And the reason the credit goes to Captain Amarnath Singh is because he's done a very, very good job for Punjab Congress in Punjab. There are many things that people across the board admire about Captain Amarnath Singh. First of all, he's always had a tough stance on drugs. I mean, there's debatable whether he's done a lot about that problem, but he's always had a tough stance on drugs. Secondly, he has openly called against any sort of Pakistani or any ISI or foreign involvement in the affairs of India, whereas certain people and certain even Congress people in India have been very soft and ambiguous on that stance. Amarnath Singh has been very clear on it. And thirdly, he's very openly anti-Khalistani. He, in fact, recently, very infamously, refused to meet the defense minister of Canada, who's a Sikh and who allegedly has Khalistani links. He said that he will meet Trudeau if he comes to Punjab, but he will not meet the defense minister. So there are things like these about him that are respected across the board in Punjab, and I think the credit to this victory falls squarely on his shoulders. Now, just like the opposition in UP and just like the opposition in Gujarat have been crying foul about, there's been rigging of the elections in UP and there was rigging of the elections in Gujarat by tampering EVMs and things like that. The opposition in Punjab has also been saying that there's been tampering in the elections process in Punjab as well. The BJP Shiromani Akali Dal Alliance has been saying that. Aam Aadmi Praty has been saying that. And just before I move on, this is important to note as well. Aam Aadmi Praty is the leader of the opposition in the Punjab Assembly. They did very, very well in the Punjab Assembly elections and they got routed in this civic body elections as well. Again, this is of course just a civic body election. It's not one of those big signs that Aam Aadmi Party has been wiped off from Punjab, but it's still vital because Aam Aadmi Party did really, really well in the state elections in Punjab for the first time contesting. So this is something that should worry them. So the opposition has been crying foul, talking about how the election process was rigged, how there was booth capturing, and how Congress workers beat up people who were trying to go vote. And I don't know how true that is because every time there's an election where the opposition loses and then the opposition makes that complaint. So if people are unwilling to believe the complaints that the Congress is making in Gujarat, and that the BSP was making in UP, I think people should give the same amount of belief or disbelief to these claims that the opposition is making here as well. And sure, I'm not saying that there was no booth capturing that happened at all, but I'm just saying that I don't think there was booth capturing and tampering in the election to the extent that is being alleged here, to the extent that would allow Congress to just rout all the other parties in this particular election just by booth capturing. I don't think that's possible. So the Punjab Congress President Sunil Thakur, he came out and he said Aam Aadmi Party had lost its ground completely in Punjab as in the rest of the country. And I was talking about this a little bit earlier, and this is important because, like I said, AAP got routed in this election as well, and it's important to kind of take into account why that happened. I think it's primarily two things. First is the Aam Aadmi Party has been seen as very soft or ambiguous, to say the least, on the whole Khalistan issue. In fact, some AAP leaders have been seen as hobnobbing with alleged Khalistanis, not just in India, but in Canada as well. And that's something that has turned off a lot of people about Aam Aadmi Party. And the second thing is that when the Aam Aadmi Party did so well in the Punjab Assembly elections, they did so on the plank of fighting the drug problem in Punjab, which is a very serious problem there. And that was one of their biggest election planks. They said they're going to root out the drug problem from Punjab. And in November, news broke that the Punjab leader of opposition from the Aam Aadmi Party, Sukhpal Singh Khera, he was actually summoned by a court in Fazilka in relation to drug smuggling charges. So his name had come up in a heroin smuggling case after the arrest of some drug smugglers by the police in Fazilka in 2015, admitting an application under Section 319 of the Criminal Procedure Code, providing for adding additional accused. The Court of Additional District and Sessions Judge in Fazilka on Wednesday ordered issuance of summons to Khera in this case. So again, that is not a very good look for your party if your party is running on the plank of rooting out the drug problem from Punjab, and the leader of opposition, who is from your party, gets called into the court on drug smuggling charges. So I think these two factors have played up to quite a big extent when it comes to AAP's declining fortunes in Punjab. And it's going to be very interesting to see, because at the moment it just looks like it's the Congress party that has been able to capitalize on the AAP's losses in Punjab rather than the BJP Akali Dal coalition. And it's going to be interesting to see if this is the case in future elections as well, because if it is, Congress puts itself in a very strong position in Punjab. And this is the thing about Congress, that if they were smarter, they would give the leadership of the party to someone like Captain Amarinder Singh. Because like I said before, this is a guy that has a lot to be admired about him across the board. So if the Congress party was smart, they would give the reins of the party to someone like Amarinder Singh rather than Rahul Gandhi. But look, I'm not complaining, as I believe that the Congress has less of a chance to win with Rahul Gandhi at the helm rather than Amarinder Singh at the helm. So I'm not complaining. So in our second news of the day, Scroll came out with a interesting article saying that there is a war on Christmas in India. And you get a sense of what this article is kind of going to be about by the subheading under there. It says, the Yuletide spirit is a bit sour this year. I didn't even know India had a Yuletide spirit. It's kind of like saying the Diwali spirit is a bit sour in America this year, or the Holy Spirit is a bit sour in Afghanistan this year. I'm not saying that Christmas is a bad thing or Christmas shouldn't be enjoyed, but I think it's a bit absurd to make these claims. Then it goes on to say, it is difficult to imagine anyone getting angry or even displeased with Christmas carols. No, it's not. I don't think it's very hard to get upset about Christmas carols, just like it's not very hard to get upset about azans blaring at 5 in the morning, or it's easy to get upset about like a bhajan playing really loudly in a neighborhood. I think it's perfectly fine to be upset by any of those things. In this situation, I like to play a game called a switcheroo, where you take the shoe from one foot and you put it on the other foot. So just imagine, if a bunch of those Hare Krishna folk were singing and bhajans and dancing really loudly in like some small town neighborhood in America, I can imagine that it would piss some people off. I mean, initially people just might be, oh, look at that, how nice, whatever. But I think after a little while, it's possible that it might piss people off. It's not very difficult to imagine. And same way, it's not very difficult to imagine that happening in India. And then the Scroll article goes on to say that there's been violence against people who have been caroling, and there's been violence against Christians in certain areas, and there's also been arrests that have been made by the police on carolers when they were just caroling, when some people actually alleged that these people were not actually caroling, but they were actually trying to convert some people. So there's two issues here. Let's talk about the first one. So the first issue is violence against carolers and violence against Christian. This is a no-brainer. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. You are perfectly well within your rights to not enjoy Christmas caroling. You're perfectly well within your rights to be pissed off by Christmas caroling, but you're not within your rights to inflict violence on people who are doing this caroling. That is completely wrong. And I hope that these people, if these reports are true that there has been violence against carolers, I hope that these people are prosecuted to the full extent of the law. That is not something that belongs in India, and that is something that we must come out and condemn in as heavy terms as possible. So that one's a no-brainer. Let's talk about the second one. Let's talk about the arrests that have been made on people on so-called carolers who were just apparently caroling, but it was alleged that they were actually trying to convert people. And this is more of a gray area, because this is not black and white. This is not the state being a fascist and imprisoning minorities for practicing their religious faith. I think there's more of a gray area to it, because in India for the past few decades, proselytization attempts and activities by missionary groups and big Christian organizations has been a big problem. This is something that has bothered a lot of people, and if you're part of a community and you see that people in your community are being converted and are being misinformed about that conversion, it's not just a question of, okay, this is what the Bible says, how about it? And the person says, okay, I like the sound of that, let's do this. It's not as simple as that. It's a lot of, misinformation and falsehoods and coercion that goes into this as well. So if you're part of that community and you see people in your community being converted and nobody in the news talks about it at all, nobody in the government is serious about it, including the BJP government. In a lot of cases, they have shown that they're not very serious about this issue. So if you're part of that community and if somebody has been affected by it, it's bound to upset you and it's bound to make you angry. So again, I don't think this is a black and white issue. And this aspect of proselytization by these missionary organizations, this is a serious thing. There's been so many examples of this kind of stuff happening across India. There was an example of, one of the greatest works of Tamil literature, the Thirukkural by the Tamil saint Thiruvalluvar. There were missionary organizations and there was some research that was created that was saying that Thirukkural was actually a Christian work, and it was talking about Christian themes and things like that. And then there was also that whole story of Jesus is actually a yogi who was practicing yoga and things like that. And no Christian organization outside of India, including the Catholic Church, none of these organizations give any credit to that story. But that story and that theory of Jesus being some kind of yogi is always peddled and propagated in India, and it's used to convert people who are either poor or just not as well educated. Then the Ministry of Home Affairs placed US-based church Compassion International on its prior permission list earlier this year. The church came under investigation for allegedly transferring funds to non-governmental organizations not registered under the Foreign Contribution Registration Act as required by law. And this is not a new thing. The foreign funding of these organizations, where these organizations have so much money, so much more money than organizations like temples, who, by the way, like I've done a video before about this, who don't have the wherewithal to manage their affairs. And then there's things like the Joshua Project. Now, the Joshua Project is an international Christian project which highlights ethnic groups that have the least amount of Christians in their population. And if you go to the website of this project, it's absolutely insane, because it says, if you go and hover over India, it'll say India, 89% or 90% of people who have not yet been reached. And then it has this little column on the side which says, pray for Bosnia, because Bosnia is 100% Muslim and, they have not yet been reached by Jesus. So pray for them and things like that. And that kind of mentality and that kind of an attitude seeps into these missionary groups in India. And so when a lot of people see this kind of caroling and this kind of stuff happening, it's not just a question of, oh, let's live and let live, which is the actual Indian philosophy, which is the actual Hindu philosophy. It's not that. It's a question of convert by whatever means necessary. This is happening in a lot of places in India. And that's why there is anger in people, because a lot of people caroling might just be doing it just for caroling, but a lot of people who do this stuff, especially the missionary organizations and people affiliated with those missionary organizations, they do it with an agenda in mind. They're not doing it for the goodness of their heart and to just have a good time and, be nice to people and things like that. They're doing because they believe that Hindus are going to go to hell, and it is their duty, it is their religious duty to save them and bring them to Christ and stuff like that. I don't think that's particularly right. And again, I want to play that game of switcheroo over here again as well. Imagine if there were these Hare Krishnas who would go from town to town in the US and would tell falsehoods about, Jesus and Christianity to the people over there. Say stuff like, Jesus wasn't really a Jew from Israel. Jesus was actually a Hindu priest from India who went to Israel for spring break and then decided to just live in Israel, and people mistook him for a Jew, but he wasn't actually a Jew, he was Hindu, stuff like that. Imagine if they said stuff like that. Do you think that that would be right? I don't believe that would be right. I believe that would be lying, and I believe that would be tantamount to fraud. But unfortunately, a lot of that is what happens in India. So let's put the shoe on the other foot. If it's wrong on this foot, it'll be wrong on the other foot as well. So yeah, I mean, Scroll tends to have an agenda when it comes to these things, and I think it's important to counter that agenda. Thank you very much for watching today's show. I appreciate you. If you are enjoying what we do here at the Shyam Sharma Show, like the video, share the video, tell as many people as you can about the video, and make sure you're subscribed to the show's channel and your little notification thingy is on, so as soon as the video drops, you're the first to hear about it. We're going to be back again on Wednesday with a brand new episode of the Shyam Sharma Show. We're going to be talking about the Gujarat elections and the fallout of that election this week as well. So it's going to be a fantastic episode coming up. Make sure you're tuned in for that, and make sure you're subscribed for that. I will see you Wednesday. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon.